What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Catherine and I am a personal trainer. In today's video I'm just going to be showing you how to calculate your calories. So just to preface this video, there is more than one way to calculate your calories and there is no right or wrong way. There are some ways that are more effective in certain situations, but this is going to be a basic primer way that will hopefully help the majority of you to establish what your BMR or basal metabolic rate is, and then what your TDEE or total daily energy expenditure is, which is your total calorie number that you would need to remain the same. I would also like to say that I think the most accurate way of calculating calories is actually by tracking your intake and your knowledge of self. But for the purposes of this video, this could be used in a situation where you don't have knowledge of tracking or intake from a client, or if you're just doing it yourself, you haven't gotten around to tracking yet or haven't worked out how to do that. This is going to be a good starting point to give you a rough figure that's accurate to around 50 calories of what your total daily energy expenditure or maintenance calories is. So the equation I would use in this situation is called the Harris-Benedict equation, and it was written by Mifflin and St-Jeor, and this was updated in 1990. So as I said, this is accurate to around 50 calories plus or minus, and it's going to use your height, weight and age to determine your caloric figure. So there are two equations, one for men and one for women. The difference between the equations is this number here. So for men you add +5 at the end, and for women you minus 161. So if you've never seen this equation before and you think it looks a bit difficult or hard to work out, it really isn't that difficult at all. All you need to do is pretend you're back at school and you break it down in chunks one at a time, and then you'll get to your number at the end. So the first thing you would do is go and work out 10 times your weight, then you would do 6.25 times your height, which is going to be in centimetres, and then you would do 5 times your age in years, and then we would put together all the pieces of the equation to give us our ending figure. So here's an example. I've just taken my weight here and we're going to use me for the example. So my BMR is going to equal 10 times my weight in kilos, so I've taken my weight in kilos, which is 56, and I have times that by 10 to give me 560, the first part of the equation. Next, I've taken 6.25 and I've times that by my height in centimetres, which is 170 centimetres. So that gives me 1062 here. And then I've done 5 times my age, which is 25, so that gives me 125 here. And then I've just got the 161 on the end that I need to minus. So then putting this into your calculator, all you would do is go across here. Don't try and do it in clumps, just do it in one long go. So type in 560, or whatever your number is, plus 1062 minus 125 minus 161. And the figure that gives me here is 1336. So 1336 is my BMR. So this stands for basal metabolic rate, and this is the number of calories that your body at the moment needs to maintain its size and weight if you were to not move or not be active. So for example, if you were in a hospital bed and you didn't move all day, you just literally lay there and your organs functioned properly and you breathed, that would be the number of calories that you would need just to perform those basic bodily functions. However, most of us are not doing that, so we need to add some more calories for the activity that we are doing. How you would go about doing that is by taking your BMR number, so that's this number here. So make sure you've worked that bit out first, go and get that number, and then you would times that by an activity factor. So this is going to be dependent on how much activity you do, and this is based on exercise, so you are going to have to guesstimate a bit here if you don't exercise but you are quite active. So the factors are, for little to no exercise every week, it's going to be BMR times 1.2. For light exercise, this could be 1 to 3 times per week. It will be BMR times 1.375. For moderate, which is about 3 to 5 sessions a week, so let's say on average these sessions are about an hour, that could be BMR times 1.55. For heavy exercise, which could be 6 to 7 times per week, this would be 1.725. And for very heavy, which could be, for example, somebody that does CrossFit athlete or somebody that trains for endurance twice a day, they could be doing BMR times 1.9. So these figures aren't exactly 100% accurate, and if you look at these and you go, I think I might be between figures, then it's absolutely fine to go, okay, I don't think I'm at 1375, I think I'm probably between moderate and light. For example, if you do 4 sessions a week, or you think that's where your activity level falls, even if you're not exercising, then you could choose something like 1.4. You're going to get better at this with time, and if you're a coach, you're going to get better at this with time, being able to estimate your clients' activity levels based on the information that they give you. But just for today's example, pick one where you think you are, and then take that number, and that's going to be the number you are going to times by your BMR. So you can see here for this example, I've taken my BMR, which is this number here, 1336. I'm timesing that by an activity factor of 1.55 because I do the 5 times per week workouts for about an hour. So that gives me a total of 2,070 calories per day as my TDEE, that's this one, which stands for total daily energy expenditure. So that's exactly the amount of calories within plus or minus 50 calories of what my body needs to maintain weight every single day. So I'm guessing a lot of you that came here are not looking to maintain your weight because you're probably hoping to either change your body composition or plus or minus a bit of weight. So what you're going to need to do is grab this number, this TDEE number, or maintenance calories as we like to call it, and proceed onto that to the next step, because you will either be plussing or minusing calories from that in order to reach your goal. Okay, so next slide, gain or lose, how do we do this? So I've taken my BMR from the previous page and I've got my TDEE from the previous page, so you need to have yours jotted down if you haven't got them already. So caloric maintenance basically means staying the same, so that means we are in a net neutral energy balance, so that what's coming in and what's going out are the same. So food intake is what is coming in and activity is what's going out. So you can influence your weight by eating more or less food, or by exercising more or less, but ideally a combination of the two of them is going to be a lot more sustainable than just doing a massive calorie cut or a massive amount more calories or a massive amount more exercise or less exercise. So just a quick couple of terms here you may have heard thrown around if you're unsure of them. Caloric deficit and caloric surplus. So caloric deficit means a negative energy balance, so this means the calories in are going to be less than we need and the calories going out are going to be more than we ideally want to be doing to maintain our body weight. And then caloric surplus is the opposite of this, so this is being in a positive energy balance, so the calories coming in are going to be higher than the calories going out. So that means we're going to be adding calories, and that one means we're going to be subtracting calories to this number up here. So notice this is in kilocal. So it's going to be the kilocal on the back of the packets that you're going to be paying attention to when you are tracking your calorie intake, and that applies to this stuff too. So I've already mentioned that I would maintain at this figure. Your figure may be higher or lower depending on how big you are, how much muscle mass you have, how tall you are, stuff, genetic things, and knowledge of self. Some people will know that their number is higher or lower than the figure that this equation gives them. So basically it's just a sliding scale. The easiest way I can present this to you is there's no magic amount of calorie cut number that gives you fat loss. There is no magic amount of calorie addition number that gives you muscle gain. It's a sliding scale, and where you're going to fall on that scale is going to depend on what your goal is at the time, how well you know yourself, and what you're trying to get out of it really. So you can lose weight by deducting any amount of calories and you will lose weight. You can gain weight by plussing any amount of calories. This could go on infinitely both ways, and you could gain weight. You don't need to go, there seems to be some kind of magic number with women where it's slashed to 1500 or slashed to 1200 in order to get weight loss or fat loss. It just doesn't work like that. That would be more black and white, but things are not like that in real life. In real life, you want to be going down the scale or up the scale in a steady, controlled manner, not jumping from here to somewhere ridiculous down here, or not jumping immediately from here to somewhere ridiculous up here if you're trying to gain weight. So what I do with my clients is recommend a certain range to be cutting in, and then try and move them down that range into a more progressive deficit or more progressive surplus over time. So an example here would be, we might start off, if this example was me, we might start off by removing about 100 calories. And then a few weeks later or a month later we might move down to 200 calories, and that would be from this initial number. So you can see the number here is going down by about 100 each time. We're not deducting 300 from this number, we're deducting the 300 from this original number. And the same way for gaining, you may want to add 100 for a few months, then 200 for a few months, then 300 to the initial number for a few months, and see how it goes. It is very, very dependent on the person, how quickly you're going to want to reduce or increase calories, and by what's going on. For example, if this number was to change, so I was to suddenly start exercising 7 times a week, then this number would change. So other things would need to be changed and we'd have to start again. Which is why it's important to try and keep your activity level the same if you are trying to diet or gain weight, so that you know that your numbers are going to be pretty accurate when it comes to what you're eating every day. So general rules of thumb. For women, I tend to like them to be in the 15 to 20% calorie deficit range. And for men, I think it's a bit higher, and I prefer them to be about 20 to 25% calorie deficit range. The reasoning for this is women don't respond well to dieting, and this has been proven in many studies, and you'll probably know this yourself if you're a woman. Women's hormones are not the same as men's hormones, and women need to be treated a little bit differently when it comes to dieting. They don't need to be trained differently, and they don't need to be pampered to any more than men. Sometimes men need to be pampered to more. But women need a bit more consideration when it comes to dieting and dieting factors and things like macros sometimes. So generally I prefer to go more slowly down the ladder with women, whereas men can go into things a little bit more aggressively when it comes to dieting. And then the same with the other way too. We may stay down here a bit longer in the lower range for women, because some women have issues with increasing calories too quickly. It can be a bit of a mental strain. And the same thing applies to some men in this situation too, but it really is dependent on the person and their genetics. So for example, for me, let's just do a rough calculation here. To get 15 to 20% calorie deficit from this figure here, I've taken that figure, I've divided by 100, so that gives me 20.7, and I've times that by 15 to give me a lower margin of 310 calories, and then I've times it by 20 here to give me 414 calories. So that would be the range I would be looking at sitting in for the calorie deficit for an extended period of time if I was trying to lose weight myself. So what does that look like up here? So you would take these figures, minus this from your maintenance, so I've done that here, so that would put me at 1760 calories, and I may do this for a period of time. And then a more aggressive deficit would be minus the 414, which would be 1656 calories, which would be a slightly more aggressive deficit, which would be the 20% margin. For women, I don't really recommend going above the 20% margin unless there's a specific circumstance that calls for it. In most cases, I don't think it's necessary. The last thing I will mention is how large this number is going to depend on how quickly you lose weight. Now, this may seem like a very appetizing thing to go, oh great, so I'll just whack it up to 25 and I will lose weight more fast. You may lose weight more fast, but a lot of your initial weight loss will actually be water loss. In order to lose weight sustainably and to keep it going over a long period of time, which for most people it will be a long period of time, it won't be 3 weeks, it won't be 6 weeks, it will probably be 3 months plus, maybe 6 months. For very overweight individuals, it's going to be up to a year of dieting to really be getting down into those healthy BMI ranges again. So it may seem appetizing to just go for the highest percentage that I've recommended here, which is not what I'm recommending you do. I'm recommending a slow and controlled calorie deficits over an extended period of time, because your mental willpower is not going to be very happy here. You may think in the short term, but I just need to lose 15 pounds by next week for a wedding, and that may seem like a very appetizing idea, but you'll probably do it, lose a load of water weight, only lose an actual little bit of fat, be very, very stressed the entire time, get a very negative relationship with food and dieting, and as a result you'll probably stop dieting after a few weeks and be like, you know what, sod that, I'm not doing that again, that was too hard, and you'll never stick to it. So I don't recommend doing that. The reason I've got 15 to 20% here is because 15 to 20% is what I use, and I train a lot of people, help a lot of people lose weight, it tends to be what works. So that's what I would recommend doing if you are going to do this stuff yourself. So I hope that sheds some light on how you can calculate your own calories. If you did like this video, feel free to give me a thumbs up, because that helps share the videos around more people and we can reach more people and help them with their weight loss or weight gain goals. If you are interested in working with me, I do work with a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds and situations. I am a qualified personal trainer, and I'll put my details down in the description box below if you want to check out my online services. Thanks very much for watching this one, guys. I'll see you in the next one.